Hey, how's everybody doing? It's Dan, and this is my video on the final film in the original series of the Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th films, although it doesn't actually take place in that same shared universe. No, it actually takes place in our plane of existence, and Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy in the first and third installments of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, plays herself in Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Now, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, while it's not exactly a good film, at least has an interesting concept. Instead of, being in the film universe, it turns out that Freddy is actually some kind of nightmare entity that exists in our universe and has latched on to the character of Freddy Krueger on the films and has sort of built its power up from the fear that those films have generated. And so it is now capable of existing within our world, and of course comes to people in nightmares when they're asleep. So it starts off, and they are filming yet another Nightmare on Elm Street film, and this robotic claw hand just kind of goes nuts and gets all messed up and begins actually harming other people, and then the character Heather wakes up, and it turns out that it's all just a dream. Of course, the two people that had actually injured and killed in the dream, turns out that they are dead from this point on, because production gets canceled because they can't find these guys, and then eventually they're found just in some field somewhere, I guess. But you don't actually see that, you just hear it on the news at one point later on in the film. So anyway, Heather is married to some guy who is just a character in the film, not her actual husband. She has a son who is not her actual son, just a actor who is playing a character in the film. And this demonic entity that exists now as Freddy Krueger is attempting to, I'm not sure if he's trying to kill the kid, if he's trying to take over the kid. I really don't know exactly what's going on during the film, but all of these people in the real world end up, getting killed by Freddy. Well, actually, only about 3 or 4 people end up getting killed, including her husband, who ends up, getting killed while he falls asleep in his vehicle, so it just conveniently looks like a, car accident. All that sort of thing. So, yeah, the movie just kind of goes on and on and on, and it gets pretty boring and slow in some places. It's also kind of cool that Robert Englund also plays himself as well as this demon that appears as Freddy Krueger. So there's that was kind of neat. But for the most part, the film really just drags on and gets very boring. And eventually, her child ends up getting pulled into the nightmare realm, and she has to go there to rescue him, and defeats this nightmare entity once and for all. And that's the end. I mean, it really wasn't all that fantastic. I mean, the official ending, when they come back out of the nightmare realm, she finds, a copy of the script that's, signed by Wes Craven and all that, and she starts reading it to her son, which is just a disturbing thing to do, reading a horror movie script to your son, but I guess he's already basically lived through it, so yeah, there's that. But it does turn out that it is the exact, script for the movie that we just finished watching. So it was an attempt to bring a little bit of realism to it, kind of like, instill a new, this sort of interesting thing. But it is the last film in the original series of Nightmare on Elm Street films. There is still the remake that we will get into in 2 days, but the next film we're going to talk about is the Friday the 13th remake, which we'll get to tomorrow. Now, this particular video may end up being a little bit late because I just got around at 11 o'clock at night on the night that I was supposed to put it up, making this video. But it will be up, so will the next one. I'm about to record that right now, so stick around, you'll see them both.